So again, fundamentals here, nothing altruistic, nothing noble, nothing pious about what we're doing. It works out well, and we are doing well as a company by doing some good. That's just the way things worked out, kind of winging it from some kind of inner sense of how to do things and not to do, what not to do. It's just based on some gut level thing, and that's worked out pretty well for us. And then, very recently I've realized, what's the difference between us and a flea market where you go in person? Because that ultimately is more satisfying than what's online, as far as I could tell, but of course I'm fairly ancient. In several weeks I plan to blog my AARP card, and with the membership number and possibly my birth date redacted, but I'm kind of welcoming coming decrepitude. But the big thing that I've learned is that real life and a lot of things, well, that's pretty good, because all humans have done social networking from pre-human days. The thing is that face-to-face interaction doesn't scale. Like a flea market, a good one may see hundreds, who knows, a couple thousand people in a day. But on our site, again, we're getting maybe 50 million unique visitors over the course of a month. Not bad. So the net is not a substitute for face-to-face real life, but it's a pretty useful complement, and you can get things done that way. And I'll be getting back to that one. This is a good break to ask questions, by the way, as I segue. Yeah. It's hard to do because as a nerd, I try to rely on logic and reason, and it took me a long time to get out of that habit. It's pretty destructive. So I just talk to people, and it always takes me a little while to get out of denial, because denial is really powerful in all human matters. But at some point, then after speaking to people, I got out of that. I should mention that, it's tough sometimes to reason, because, there are people whose profession has to do with spinning truth. There are predatory PR folks, and most PR folks in communications are just fine, but there are a small number of bad actors who are really good at spin. And sometimes you do have to rely on your gut and your experience more than a set of what may be facts. I like to call this truthiness. That really should get a bigger laugh from people in New York, Did you? Oh. Okay. Again, keep questions coming as you see fit. Oh, should he be stepping up to the mic? Because I think they're recording this.
You've talked about how Craigslist has always been about helping people get around, find apartments, things like that. How do you see Craigslist moving forward to continue helping people in new ways?
Craigslist itself helping people in new ways, I don't know if we'll find new ways to do that. We do pretty much one thing pretty well. We don't want to screw that up. Outside of Craigslist, I'm doing some things, a number of things, which I could get into a moment. But with Craigslist, it's mostly going to be more cities, more languages, better forms of customer service. We do have issues. Part of our recent announcement, too, is that we'll actually be going to court against people who sell ad spamming software. We're not litigious, but technological means haven't worked as well as we had hoped. So in a way, sometimes, people get ambitious and then do stuff which actually isn't needed. Fortunately, we've always had minimal resources from the very beginning, and even back then I didn't do some things which sounded really cool, but would have been a waste of resource. So sometimes things work out that way. This is me looking for more questions. Again, I think they need you to step up to the mic.
Did you work at Schwab for a few years and overlap that with Craigslist, or did you quit and go?
Did I overlap my Craigslist stuff with working at Charles Schwab? I don't remember the exact answer, to be very frank. It happened around the time that I was leaving Schwab, I put in close to 2 years, and they were kind enough to move me from the East Coast out to San Francisco, which I appreciate. But I was in basically a technical group there doing work with application architecture and security. But again, my big contribution was that I would wind up going around the company showing people the net in '94, saying, hey, we would do business this way someday. Yeah, I think the AV guy does want us to use microphones, and speaking as a nerd, I have to support my AV brethren. Yeah, I was never in the AV club, but I was in the debate team, and that's actually more dysfunctional. And I'm serious.
You were talking about some of the ideas you passed up because you just wanted to keep the site light on resources. Are there any ideas that you saw take off from in other ventures that you guys had kind of tossed around?
Yeah. Maybe one thing that I thought of, but we never got around to, was just the idea of user reviews of restaurants and services, that kind of thing. That's pretty much the big one. Beyond that, I knew there were little things that we'd considered, but nothing really exciting.
You talked about sort of how there's spammers and like racists and bigots that come to the site. What are some of the ways you've learned to sort of combat their stuff?
Combating spammers or people posting abusive stuff. The spammers, frankly, we have some technological means of limiting what they can do, but they're smart and persistent. So again, that's why we're headed to court. Regarding the abusive folks, some of them, again, can be dealt with using technological means. Sometimes you can reason with them and get them to stop. Sometimes we haven't found a way of stopping them. We do have to encourage people not to engage them and see what happens. I mean, frankly, I have a couple of online stalkers, and I work hard not encouraging them. But, we do wonder if we're ever going to have a discussion regarding them with law enforcement. Because at some point, if they don't get the attention they want, they might get busy.
Yes, hi. So my question is based around the observation that obviously you guys focus your sites, you have geographically centered pages that people can access. And as you mentioned, people in a specific region of the country during Katrina saw that they could use the site for very particular purposes. I mean, do you see there being any in the future of Craigslist, do you see there being a way for people to kind of shape their region to meet specific needs, either short-term, like there's a natural disaster, or long-term, like one region has certain interests or things they'd like to use the site for? So,
the regional differentiation, we try to listen for suggestions like that, but people typically haven't requested that very much. If so, then we have to think about it and be flexible. We are finding, like during the last hurricane season this year, like there's a guy, Andy Carvin, who's doing a lot of stuff with social networking, and he put together the Hurricane Information Center. We're a classified site, which frankly isn't a perfect fit for some of these kinds of things. And some of the things I've done is encouraging people to do what they might do, and, well, trying to get their work attention, because often, at least for a person to get started, and then to persist at least for a little while, will be to get them attention and to get people to use the stuff. So Andy did some remarkably good stuff there, and he seems to be doing a lot more of it. I have to look on what he's doing with Twitter. Because even I'm making fairly a half-assed use of Twitter. Like I'm there under as Craig Newmark, one word, and I'm just seeing what happens there. I mean, I'm not an IM guy because, I'm too old. And by the way, I do want you kids to stay off my lawn. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to go, you kids. Yeah, and but the idea is that one thing I do point out is that if you guys are getting proficient in some of these new media, some of these new technologies, that does give you a competitive edge compared to people who aren't getting comfortable with these technologies. So you may be entering into a job market which is very competitive and kind of scary, but you may have one edge there that you may be aware of already.